Imagine living in a land ruled by a man so arrogant and cruel that he claimed to be a god. This was Pharaoh, the tyrant of Egypt, who oppressed the Israelites with unimaginable brutality. His reign was marked by fear and injustice as he forced the Israelites into slavery to build his monuments and empire. Yet, even the mightiest rulers cannot thwart the will of Allah. During this time of fear, a baby was born, a child destined to challenge Pharaoh's tyranny, part the Red Sea, and free his people from oppression. This is the story of Prophet Musa, a story of unwavering faith, courage in the face of fear, and Allah's divine plan. Pharaoh, terrified of a prophecy that a boy from the Israelites would one day overthrow him, ordered his soldiers to kill every newborn male from the Israelites. Imagine the heartbreak and terror in every home. Mothers wept as they tried to hide their babies, praying for a miracle. In this time of despair, Allah's mercy unfolded. A baby was born to a devout Israelite woman. She held her son close, her heart torn between joy and fear, knowing his life was in grave danger. But Allah inspired her with a command and a promise. And we inspired to the mother of Musa, "Suckle him, but when you fear for him, cast him into the river, and do not fear, and do not grieve. Indeed, we will return him to you, and will make him of the messengers." With trembling hands and tear-filled eyes, she placed her baby in a basket and set it afloat on the Nile, whispering prayers with every ripple of the water. Her faith in Allah's promise gave her strength, even as her heart ached. Musa's brave sister, unable to leave her baby brother's fate to chance, followed the basket as it floated downstream. She ran along the riverbank, her eyes never leaving it, until it reached an unexpected destination, Pharaoh's palace. Pharaoh's servants discovered the basket and brought it to the palace. When Pharaoh's wife Asiya saw the baby, her heart melted. She pleaded with Pharaoh, "He will be a comfort to me and you. Do not kill him. Perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son." By Allah's decree, Pharaoh agreed. But there was a problem. The baby refused to nurse from any of the wet nurses in the palace. He cried endlessly, hungry and inconsolable. At that moment, Musa's sister courageously approached the palace, suggesting, "Shall I direct you to a household that will be responsible for him for you while they are to him sincere?" The servants, desperate to calm the baby, agreed. They brought Musa's mother to the palace, and as soon as she held her son, he began to nurse. Imagine her joy. Not only was her baby safe, but Allah's promise had come true. So we restored him to his mother, that she might be content and not grieve, and that she would know that the promise of Allah is true. But most of the people do not know. Musa grew up in the lap of luxury, surrounded by wealth and power in Pharaoh's palace. Yet his heart remained pure. Despite his privileged life, he felt the pain of the Israelites who were oppressed as slaves. One day, Musa witnessed an Egyptian man beating an Israelite slave. Overcome by anger and a sense of justice, Musa intervened. In the struggle, Musa struck the Egyptian, and the man died. Shocked and remorseful, Musa immediately turned to Allah. "My Lord, indeed I have wronged myself, so forgive me." And Allah forgave him. News of the incident quickly spread, and Pharaoh's anger grew. He ordered Musa's capture, but Allah's plan was already in motion. A man came to warn Musa, "O Musa, indeed the eminent ones are conferring over you, intending to kill you. So leave the city. Indeed, I am to you of the sincere advisors." Musa fled Egypt, leaving behind the palace, comfort, and everything he had known. Alone and uncertain of his future, he wandered into the desert, placing his trust in Allah. After days of walking, hungry and exhausted, he arrived in a place called Madyan. There, he saw a group of shepherds watering their flocks. Nearby, two women stood back, unable to approach the well. Musa asked them, "What is your circumstance?" They replied, "We do not water our flocks until the shepherds dispatch their flocks, and our father is an old man." Moved by their words, Musa watered their flocks for them. Despite his struggles, he found the strength to help others. Afterward, he sat under the shade of a tree and prayed, "My Lord, indeed I am, for whatever good you would send down to me, in need." One of the women returned and invited Musa to meet her father, a righteous man, believed to be Prophet Shuaib. After listening to Musa's story, the man reassured him, "Fear not, you have escaped from the wrong-doing people." The man offered Musa a place to stay, and later proposed that he marry one of his daughters on the condition that Musa work for him for 8 to 10 years. Musa agreed, beginning a peaceful chapter of his life. During his time in Madyan, Musa grew in wisdom and strength. But his mission was not yet complete. Allah was preparing him for something far greater. After years of peaceful life in Madyan, Allah's grand plan for Musa began to unfold. While traveling through the desert with his family, Musa noticed a glowing fire on Mount Tur. Cold and in need of direction, he said to his family, "Indeed, I have perceived a fire. Perhaps I can bring you from there some information or a burning wood so that you may warm yourselves." Musa climbed the mountain, expecting to find an ordinary flame. Instead, he heard a voice calling his name, "O Musa." This was Allah speaking directly to him. Musa stood in awe as Allah continued, "Indeed, I am your Lord, so remove your sandals. Indeed, you are in the sacred valley of Tuwa, and I have chosen you, so listen to what is revealed." At that moment, Musa was chosen as a prophet of Allah. He was given a monumental mission to return to Egypt and confront Pharaoh, demanding the release of the Israelites. Feeling the weight of this mission, Musa expressed his fears. He worried about his ability to speak clearly and about Pharaoh's reaction. He prayed to Allah, "My Lord, expand for me my chest, and ease for me my task, and untie the knot from my tongue, that they may understand my speech." In His infinite mercy, Allah reassured Musa and appointed his brother, Harun, as his helper. To strengthen him further, Allah granted Musa 2 miraculous signs. Allah instructed Musa, "Throw down your staff." When Musa obeyed, his staff transformed into a slithering snake. Startled, Musa stepped back in fear. But Allah said, "Seize it and fear not. We will return it to its former condition." Musa picked up the snake, and it turned back into his staff. Next, Allah commanded Musa, "Insert your hand into the opening of your garment. It will come out white without disease." When Musa obeyed, his hand emerged glowing with radiant light. These miracles were signs of Allah's power, given to Musa to prove his prophethood and the truth of his message. With Allah's assurance and Harun by his side, Musa returned to Egypt. Together, they entered Pharaoh's grand court, a place filled with wealth, arrogance, and symbols of power. Pharaoh, sitting on his throne, looked down at Musa with disdain. Musa began his mission with the message Allah had commanded him to deliver. "Indeed, we are messengers of your Lord, so send with us the children of Israel and do not torment them. We have come to you with a sign from your Lord, and peace will be upon he who follows the guidance." Pharaoh, filled with arrogance, mocked Musa. "Did we not raise you among us as a child, and you remained among us for years of your life? And then you did your deed, which you did. and you were of the ungrateful." Pharaoh was referring to the time when Musa had accidentally killed the Egyptian man. But Musa calmly replied, "I did it then, while I was of those astray. So I fled from you when I feared you. Then my Lord granted me wisdom and prophethood, and appointed me as one of the messengers." Pharaoh, trying to discredit Musa, arrogantly asked, "And what is the Lord of the worlds?" Musa responded with confidence, "The Lord of the heavens and the earth, and whatever is between them, if you should be convinced." Pharaoh turned to his people and mocked, "Do you not hear?" But Musa continued, "Your Lord and the Lord of your first forefathers." Pharaoh, still refusing to believe, accused Musa of madness. But Musa boldly declared, "Lord of the east and the west, and whatever is between them, if you were to reason." Realizing he could not out-argue Musa, Pharaoh resorted to threats. "If you take a god other than me, I will surely place you among those imprisoned." Musa remained fearless. He threw down his staff, and it transformed into a living snake. He placed his hand into his garment, and it emerged glowing. Despite witnessing these signs, Pharaoh dismissed them as magic. In his arrogance, Pharaoh challenged Musa to a public contest. He gathered the best magicians in Egypt and set the stage for a showdown, hoping to discredit Musa in front of the people. Pharaoh chose a festive day, known as the Day of Ornaments, for the contest. Crowds of people gathered to witness the showdown between Musa and the magicians. The magicians confidently declared, "Indeed, for us is a reward if we are the predominant." Pharaoh promised them riches and honor if they succeeded. The magicians threw down their ropes and staffs, which appeared to transform into writhing snakes through their magic. The crowd gasped in awe. Even Musa felt a moment of fear, but Allah reassured him, "Fear not. Indeed, it is you who are superior, and throw what is in your right hand. It will swallow up what they have crafted." What they have crafted is but the trick of a magician, and the magician will not succeed, wherever he is. With complete faith, Musa threw down his staff. By Allah's power, it transformed into a mighty snake that devoured all the magician's illusions. The truth became clear to the magicians. Overcome by the signs of Allah, they fell to their knees in prostration and declared, "We have believed in the Lord of Harun and Musa." Pharaoh, enraged and humiliated, threatened the magicians with death, but they remained firm in their faith. So decree whatever you are to decree. You can only decree for this worldly life. This confrontation marked the beginning of Pharaoh's downfall and solidified Musa's mission. Pharaoh's arrogance only grew after the Day of Ornaments. Instead of reflecting on the truth of Musa's message and the miracles he had witnessed, Pharaoh became more defiant. He intensified his oppression of the Israelites, forcing them to endure even greater suffering. But Allah's warnings were about to unfold. To show Pharaoh and his people the power of Allah and to give them a chance to repent, Allah sent a series of plagues upon Egypt. These signs were clear miracles, one after the other, shaking the foundations of Pharaoh's false power. The lifeline of Egypt was the Nile River, its waters sustaining the land and its people. But Allah turned this river into blood. When the Egyptians went to draw water, they found it thick, red, and undrinkable. The fish in the river died, and a foul stench spread across the land. Pharaoh and his people panicked, and they begged Musa to pray to Allah to remove the plague. They promised that they would free the Israelites. But when the water returned to normal, Pharaoh broke his promise. Soon after, Allah sent swarms of frogs across Egypt. Frogs leapt into their homes, their beds, and their food. No matter where they turned, they found frogs everywhere. The Egyptians were overwhelmed and once again pleaded with Musa to remove the plague, promising to let the Israelites go. But as soon as the frogs disappeared, Pharaoh's heart hardened, and he refused to fulfill his promise. Next, Allah sent lice and gnats that infested the people and animals. The Egyptians were covered in tiny insects, itching and irritated. Their animals suffered, and they had no relief. Pharaoh was warned again, but he continued to deny the signs. Then came locusts, waves of them sweeping through Egypt. They devoured crops, trees, and everything green in their path. The once fertile land became barren, leaving the Egyptians desperate. Pharaoh again pleaded for Musa to pray to Allah to stop the locusts. But when the plague ended, he returned to his arrogance. Finally, Allah sent complete darkness over Egypt. For days, the Egyptians lived in fear, unable to see anything. It was as if the world had stopped. But even this did not humble Pharaoh. Each plague was a powerful sign from Allah, showing his authority over all creation. Yet Pharaoh's pride and arrogance blinded him. With every plague, his heart grew harder, and he refused to submit to the truth. At last, Allah commanded Musa to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Musa gathered his people, and under the cover of night, they fled. It was a journey filled with hope and uncertainty, as the Israelites left behind their lives of slavery and oppression, trusting in Allah to guide them. But Pharaoh, realizing what had happened, was furious. He gathered his army, including hundreds of chariots and soldiers, and set out to pursue the Israelites. His arrogance drove him to believe that he could overpower Allah's plan. The Israelites, led by Musa, reached the shores of the Red Sea. Exhausted and frightened, they saw Pharaoh's army approaching in the distance. Fear spread among the people, and they cried out to Musa, "Indeed, we are to be overtaken." But Musa, filled with unwavering faith in Allah, reassured them, "Indeed, my Lord is with me. He will guide me." At Allah's command, Musa struck the sea with his staff. What happened next was nothing short of a miracle. The sea roared and trembled, and suddenly the waters parted, revealing dry paths with towering walls of water on either side. The Israelites stood frozen in awe, the salty breeze whipping across their faces. Step by step, they entered the seabed, their fear giving way to hope. Allah was guiding them to safety. Pharaoh and his army arrived just as the Israelites were reaching the other side. Blinded by arrogance, Pharaoh ordered his soldiers to charge into the sea. He believed his power would save him, but he was about to witness Allah's justice. As Pharaoh and his army reached the middle of the sea, the towering walls of water began to collapse. The dry paths disappeared, and the waves crashed down with tremendous force. Pharaoh, realizing his fate, cried out, "I believe that there is no deity except that in whom the children of Israel believe, and I am of the Muslims." But it was too late. Pharaoh's arrogance and defiance had sealed his doom. Allah responded, "Now? And you had disobeyed him before, and were of the corruptors?" Pharaoh and his entire army were swallowed by the sea, and his reign of terror came to an end. His wealth, power, and arrogance could not save him from Allah's justice. The Israelites watched in awe as the sea returned to its normal state, erasing all traces of Pharaoh and his army. They were finally free, liberated by Allah's mercy and the leadership of Musa. It was a moment of triumph, a testament to the power of faith and trust in Allah. Musa led his people forward, teaching them to worship Allah alone and reminding them of the lessons they had learned through their journey. The story of Prophet Musa is not just a historical account. It's a lesson for all of humanity. It shows us that no amount of power or arrogance can stand against Allah's will. It reminds us of the importance of standing up for justice, trusting in Allah's plan, and remaining steadfast in our faith, even in the face of great challenges. From the miraculous parting of the Red Sea to the downfall of Pharaoh, the story of Musa inspires hope and courage. It teaches us that Allah's wisdom is always perfect, and with patience and trust in Him, even the impossible becomes possible. May this story strengthen your faith and inspire you to trust in Allah's plan, for He is the best of planners.